Hello, you're watching Ambassador Press Club here on TVRI World, airing from the capital Jakarta. I'm Rahmat Idris. Here we converse with representatives of different countries around the globe to sort of get their sense on how to push further and foster cooperations with Indonesia, with different countries around the world. And on that note, Indonesia and Germany have long shared bilateral relations for over 71 years now, spanning across different sectors. Just to name a few: economy, trade, business, education, technology, and even tourism. And for this particular editions, I'm extremely privileged and honored to be joined by esteemed guests for the conversations. Allow me to introduce, first and foremost, we have with us the German ambassador to Indonesia, ASEAN, and Timor-Leste, Her Excellency Ina Lempel. A very good day to you, Madam Ambassador. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Selamat siang.
Selamat siang. And also next to me is the country manager of Allianz Indonesia, Mr. Alexander Grens. Mr. Alex, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And then on to another guest, Mr. Leonard Anila Putra Eggert, CFA, who is the Vice President Infrastructure, KfW IPEX Bank. Welcome to you, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you very much for having me.
And you are also part Indonesian, so we can speak in Bahasa. Selamat datang.
Terima kasih banyak.
That is welcome. And on the other end of our conversation today, seated the President Director and CEO of PT Siemens Indonesia, Dr. Lamin Jandubi. Dr. Lamin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And just to showcase my full extent of German, Dankeschön fürs Kommen. Thank you for coming. So, but before we begin, or before we commence our conversations, which I cannot wait to start with you, Madam Ambassador, we have a short visual just to showcase the different variety of products and how the German culture and also technology have been infused in Indonesia. Take a look at this next video. Right. We cannot help but marvel, Madam Ambassador, at all the technological advancements coming in from Germany. If I may say so myself, Germany for us is, for lack of a better word, a mecca of technological advancement. But just to start our conversations, Madam Ambassador, please give us a short illustration of how it is and what it is to be in Germany.
Well, Germany is a country in the heart of Europe, very much deeply rooted in that European tradition. With 83 million people, we are the largest country in the European Union and also the biggest economy. And as the movie showed, we have those classical industries like the automotive, machinery, but we are also very innovative. That was also shown, robotics. If you just look at Berlin, we have 24 unicorns there. It's a very innovative environment. And of course, there's also services industry, finance, banking, health industry. It's really very diverse. It's not easy to pinpoint and say it's only just that one. As a population, we are also becoming more diverse, getting people from other countries wanting to live in Germany, to work, to study, to just enjoy as a tourist. So it's no longer what people maybe imagine or people looking the same, but very diverse.
Right. From your tenure here in our country, Madam Ambassador, how would you describe the current state of bilateral relations between Indonesia, and Germany?
Well, I think they are really very good and taking permanently positive trend. We had the Indonesian president coming to Germany for the Hanover Fair just earlier this year. Last year, our chancellor was here for the G20
Mr. Olaf
summit.
Scholz for the presidency for the G20.
For Bali.
That was quite a moment, yeah.
There is a lot of dialogue. We have a strong cooperation as global partners with Indonesia in the field of the whole green agenda. We support the energy transition, but also the whole field of biodiversity. We are also looking at sustainable urban infrastructure and circular economy. So there is a lot of that going on. And of course, we will discuss that later, a lot of cooperation in the business sector.
Right. Madam Ambassador, I have this note here because, as I mentioned briefly earlier, that this year in particular, we commemorate 71 years of bilateral relations between Indonesia and Germany since its establishment back in 1952. And we have also signed a new milestone when German and Indonesia joint declaration for comprehensive partnership was inaugurated back in 2012. Could you shed a light on the importance of Indonesia as a partner to Germany, both from the perspective of bilateral relations, diplomatically, and economically? You mentioned a lot of different sectors that we're trying to cover there.
Yeah, I think we signed that declaration 11 years ago because it was a mutual recognition that we can both gain a lot if we work together. Germany as the biggest part of the European Union, Indonesia as the vastly biggest partner in ASEAN, and both not knowing very much about each other, so we felt that we really need to learn more and work closer together. Our trade relation has risen by an amazing 20% last year, but it's still only 8.4 billion euro. Yeah. And if we compare that to smaller countries in the region, we can see that there is still a lot of unexhausted potential to use.
So there's a huge opportunity to grow from the 8.4 billion euros that you mentioned.
Exactly.
And on that note, I'd like to go over first to Mr. Alex, country manager of Allianz Indonesia. We spoke earlier prior to this conversation, Mr. Alex, and you've been here in the country since June this year, correct me if I'm wrong. So what's the overall impressions of how we can further establish cooperations between Germany and Indonesia from your field of work?
Well, I think there are many opportunities, and as Ambassador said, it's a large country. It brings substantial opportunities for Germany, but also opportunities for the country, for German companies to invest and help building the economy. And Allianz is trying to take a fair share here, and we are relatively young in the country. We only established presence in 81, and since then are trying to help financial literacy and really protection in the country.
To be here since 1981 and saying it as a young presence is quite an understatement, if I may say, Mr. Alex. But how do you see the prospect of Allianz being here in the country and further elicit, for lack of better words, knowledge or literacy on the importance of insurance?
Yeah. So again, the opportunity is great. I mean, the population 280 million, and obviously
almost 300 now.
Yeah. Almost 300. Yeah. Basically, every person will need at a certain stage protection, whether it's protection of health or whether it's protection of wealth or taking care of the future of your retirement. So these are product lines where we can help to support the community. Now, you mentioned financial literacy. So if you look at the index, here the financial literacy is already at a quite high level, and I think the pandemic helped with creating more awareness. So we see a ratio of around 31%. But if you look on the other side on the inclusivity index, so that's only half of it. So that tells you there's a huge potential, and there's still a significant protection gap in the country which has to be addressed.
Right. So that's also echoing what you just said, Madam Ambassador, that there's a plethora of opportunities to foster cooperations. One sector is just, a thing from the many potentials that we can discover and foster here in Indonesia. So how would you see the most ideal way to approach this to better market German products in the country and to penetrate more to the furthest, because we are posed with geographical challenges here in the country, to the furthest most parts of our country?
Yeah, well, that is of course a challenge, but I think overall the trend in Indonesia is full of opportunities because there is this very young population and at the same time a growing middle class, of relatively young people, and that all over the country. So that is great, and I think it's particularly mutually beneficial for the insurance sector, because there is the universal health coverage that Indonesia has, which is a big step ahead. But of course, young emerging people want more protection. And so that is a good thing, a growing market, and it also shows the growing level of financial literacy and the growing level overall of interest in that. And for that, you don't have to go anywhere. This is basically accessible anywhere where you have internet, I guess.
Right. So cannot be better said there, Madam Ambassador. As a matter of fact, the BPJS, our national conference, there's still a lot of work to be done there. And so I'd like to get your perspective later on how we can approach this, meaning that getting to all of these targets that have been out of the radar before. We're going to take a short break now. We'll be back with and more conversations with our guest for the dialogue here. Stay with us right here for the Ambassador Press Club. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ambassador Press Club here on TVRI World. We're still with our esteemed guest from the German embassy here in Jakarta, and a couple of them coming in from other countries as well to join us for the conversations. And for this particular segment, we'd like to get a deeper knowledge on the plans of investments of Germany here in the country. But before we delve deeper into the conversations, we have a short video for you to look at on the Allianz Indonesia. Take a look.
We are Allianz. We are here to serve and make your dreams come true. Our journey started in 1890 in Berlin, Germany. Since then, we continue to evolve and innovate to provide you with trusted financial solutions. For more than 130 years of our journey, over 100 millions of customers in more than 70 countries around the world have chosen Allianz as their trusted partner. Allianz is present in numerous key markets across Asia Pacific. Together with our over than 36,000 employees and more than 20 million customers, we are fully committed in providing you with the best products, services, and solutions. In Indonesia, since 1989, we put our business on the basis of integrity and full compliance with the prevailing laws, as well as applying zero tolerance to any practices bringing adverse impacts to our customers. We are committed to ensure and protect more people. Therefore, we continue to provide the best protection, as well as paying claims and benefits to our customers. To expand our coverage and access, we have been partnering with companies that share the same vision of delivering the best for the customers. Allianz is capable of giving protection against risk in all aspects of your life. With a wide range of products and the best at its class, Allianz is a reliable insurance partner for life, health, and property and casualty that is available either in conventional or on the basis of Sharia principle. We continue to provide ease and convenience for our customers. From policy submission to claim submission can all be done online. For us, running the business is about manifesting goodness and sharing it with the community. Since 2021, Allianz officially began global partnership with Olympic and Paralympic movements until 2028. With the excellence that we offer, it's an excellent honor for us to be trusted with protecting you and your family. Start now and let Allianz be your partner in life every step of the way. Providing you with guidance and support, we are ready to help you achieve a better future. We secure your future.
Well, there you have it, a brief overview of Allianz Indonesia. And right next to me is the country manager of Allianz Indonesia, Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alex, that was quite an insightful visual there. There's a lot to uncover. But first, I'd like to get your take, because this is just Allianz Indonesia is just one of the 250, if not mistaken, multinational companies, German companies here in our country. So can you tell us the landscape of your operations in the countries and products that you offer here in Indonesia?
So as seen in the video, so 89 we established our first real insurance company here in the country, and then operated first in property and casualty, and then later on in 96 we were able to establish also a life and health insurance company here in the country. And with that, we are able now to quite holistically cover the needs of our clients and provide solutions around wealth, health, and life insurance, as well as savings products. So meanwhile, we have seen also last year our asset management from Allianz Group, Allianz Global Investors, coming into Indonesia, investing here and settling with their own asset management and providing here saving solution mutual funds to banks as well as retail customers. So together, I think we have a very, very good opportunity to holistically take care of our clients, which is needed, as we discussed earlier.
We touched on this earlier, Mr. Alex, and you mentioned that a little over 30% regarding the financial literacy and protections that have been known to almost 300 million populations here in our country. What are the most ideal approach to disseminate this further and, in a way, to further expand Allianz Indonesia's coverage in the country?
Yeah, very often it's referred to the insurance penetration in the market, which is fairly low compared to neighboring countries. We had latest reports around 2.26% in the country, but it's measured by GDP and premium. So I think premium is not always the best indicator to look at it, because we're insuring a lot of people, but on a higher premium level. So the inclusion is the more important point. We have to see how we can go further into the middle class and beyond the middle class and be inclusive and provide affordable, sustainable insurance.
I was going to ask that. Attractive and affordable as well, considering the level of economy that the market that you're faced with.
Yeah. I mean, it's typically, you have the pyramid of needs. So the insurance industry would primarily focus where there is, let's say, extra money in the wallet available to spare on insurance or savings. Whereas, on the contrary, the absolute need would be actually in the lower income segment. So this is usually the conflict you have to work with, and you need to find ways to make insurance affordable, and that is very much related to how you price products and how you make it accessible to the customers.
From your statistics thus far, Mr. Alex, can you give us an illustrations of what's the most popular coverage plans that appeal to the markets in Indonesia at this point in time?
Yeah, so we have to differentiate between life and health and property and casualty. Of course, a commodity product would be property and casualty, and motor insurance is one popular product, or property insurance, home content, or fire protection. But we are very hopeful that the government will help us and also introduce compulsory motor third-party liability in the country, and with that we will see a lot of thrive in that segment. On the life and health side, on the other side, health is a key component, especially after pandemic. You mentioned earlier, and the ambassador mentioned, it is needed, extra protection, and to supplement the public healthcare system. And I think that is one of the key elements. And then traditional life insurance, planning for legacy, passing on wealth, is a key element in our proposition and in the demand.
Right. Madam Ambassador, do you see potential of growth here, not just for the business of insurance, but other German-related businesses and companies here in the country, if you look at the graphics or the statistics of these companies?
Yes, as I said, the condition of having a young and growing population is very favorable, also the growing middle class. And I would also like to come back to the insurance sector, because I think the role of insurance in a modern economy is often underrated. And it's really important for the overall working of the system to have tailor-made solutions to cover risks, especially in a world that is becoming more risky, unfortunately. And so the fact that these products are well accepted is also, I think, a positive sign that there is potential for more growth.
It's very well to hear from you. I'd like to go to our other two guests here in the program. Let's go to Mr. Leonard a little bit from the KfW Apex Bank. What more can you tell us about the representations of your entity here in Indonesia?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for that question. So KfW Apex Bank, or you can call it Apex for short, belongs to the whole KfW banking group, or you can say KfW. Yeah. So not sure how many people know this, but KfW is actually the safest bank in the whole world, and that for the last 15 years.
The safest banks?
Yes.
In terms of
stability,
stability, and making sure that you have your money there should the economy of the world collapse or something.
Correct, yes. So, and we are among the 3 largest banks in Germany. We're completely state-owned. Yeah. And so IPEX, within KfW, we are responsible for project and export finance as the commercial arm. So it's important to mention that in this country, we have colleagues in the DEG and KfW Development Bank office, and they are very active in the space of development finance. What makes us different from other banks might be 2 things. So the first one is really our mission, our mandate, and that's to support the German and European economy, and also to support environment and climate protection. And the second thing is that we have a sector focus. So divided by 4 sectors. First is infrastructure, second is energy, third is mobility, and the fourth one is industries and services. And maybe just to zoom into infrastructure a little bit, since that's what I'm representing, we focus on 3 pillars. So the first one is transport infrastructure. So that would be ports, airports, public-private partnerships. The second pillar would be digital infrastructure. That could be data centers, telco towers, fiber. And the last pillar is energy infrastructure.
Energy.
So that's,
these are all exciting developments in our country, and they have, as a matter of fact, become some of the main theme of our G20 presidency, which Germany is also a part of. So I'd like to get more of your perspective on the upcoming plan for these 3 particular segments of developments on behalf of IPEX. But we're going to take another quick break. Mr. Leonard, you are apparently very eager to answer that. A lot of things to discover there. But in the meantime, we'll take another quick break. Stay with us right here on Ambassador Press Club here on TVRI World. Don't go anywhere. And you are still watching Ambassador Press Club here on TVRI World. We're into the 3rd segment of our conversation here, where we'll discuss more about the banking system in the country and the contributions of our German counterparts in this particular sector. And before we delve deeper into the conversations, we have put together a visual for you on IPEX Bank Asia Limited. Take a look.
Shape the future with a strong financing partner, KfW Apex Bank. Focusing on 4 major issues of the future for over 60 years. We support European expert and project finance all over the world to ensure growth, prosperity, and employment. We finance future technologies and remain strongly committed to environmental and climate protection. We create tailor-made solutions for our customers around the globe, supported by our representative offices worldwide and our ECA hub, staffed with experts in Frankfurt, together with our partners within an active syndication network.
Right, let's go over to Mr. Leonard Anila Putra Egert, the Vice President of Infrastructure of KfW IPEX Bank. Mr. Leonard, you mentioned a lot of things that you cover in terms of business plans here in Indonesia. And how do you aim to achieve those targets, especially when it comes to working together with Indonesian banking systems and counterparts?
Sure. Maybe taking a step back, I think we all agree here that Indonesia is a super interesting country, a lot of potential. And some of the headlines were mentioned, stable and high GDP growth rates, top 4 most populous country in the world, investment grade rating.
Yeah.
But I think
5% economic growth during the pandemic, if I may say, something that President was very proud of. So.
Yeah. But I think for every country, every company that is interested in Indonesia, I think we all need to dig deeper than those headlines. If the Indonesian market is one big cake, then the question is how big of a slice of that cake is actually relevant to us, to KfW, to Siemens, to Allianz, and maybe looking at the banking landscape. And I just checked the OJK website. There are 67 Bank Swasta Nasional, so that's the private national banks.
Yeah.
Then you have 4 Bank Pemerintah, the government banks.
Yeah.
Then you have 27 Bank Pembangunan, the development banks. And then you have 7 foreign banks. So that's already 105 banks.
Yeah.
And those are just the Bank Umum, so the public banks. Not included would be rural banks. That's another 1,600 foreign banks.
Would cooperatives be in the map as well?
Correct. So, I mean, with so many banks already being active here, we have to find our place, and we have to actually, maybe that's because I'm half Indonesian, we need to collaborate. Yeah. We need to find our space where we can complement what's already out there. Yeah.
So how do you make this approach in terms of going over your business plans and attracting as many nasabah, we call it, or customers into your banking services?
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that there's an alignment between what we can offer and between what the country has envisioned.
Yeah.
So we had a look at the infrastructure relevant government documents, like the Rencana Pembangunan Jangka Menengah Nasional. So that's the medium-term development plan of the country. And we also had a look at the national strategic projects, the Proyek Strategis Nasional. And for example, in that list, you have 211 projects. I think a couple of ports, a couple of airports. So those are the ones that on the infrastructure side, we would look into a bit more.
Right. I would have to mention one of the legacies that our current incumbent president is going for, which is the new capital of Nusantara. Would IBEX be a part of that project as well? How do you see yourself positioned in this, I mean, one of the mega projects of our country?
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe this is a very important step for the country because overall it's very Java-centric, so it makes sense to stimulate growth.
Moving to Borneo.
And infrastructure development on other islands as well. And since the government will provide, I think, 20% of the overall financing through the state budget, it will require a lot of private investors. So I think if there are German, European investors, that's where we can also make a contribution ourselves. Yeah.
Because from what we hear at this point in time, they are building airport, which is something that very relevant to some of the things that you mentioned earlier, the sectors that you're focused on. Yeah. So let's talk about the 3 key focuses of IBEX that you mentioned: transportation, digital development, and also energy transitions. Those are
energy infrastructure.
Energy infrastructure, and you are also a part of the infrastructure part of IBEX. So what are the focuses of these 3 things that you aim to achieve in Indonesia?
So actually our most recent financing was for a data center. To be exact, it was a 120 megawatt data center in Cikarang.
Okay.
So not too far away from Jakarta.
Data center. Okay.
Yeah. So that was roughly $400 million financing, a sustainability-linked financing, actually. So we are supporting a data center operator called EdgeConneX. And when this company achieves certain key performance indicators, like, for example, the use of renewable energy, then they get also an adjustment in their financing margin. Yeah. So that's one topic, digital infrastructure. Another key focus is actually on ports. So I saw that Pak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, he had that target of
Minister of Investment. Yeah.
He had the target of having 149 green ports by 2024. So since we have our own port finance team that has financed more than 60 ports in the world, that's one area where I think we can also make a valuable contribution.
Yeah. So that's a key development indicators of having a good port for the incoming and outgoing products into our country. And on that note, I'd like to go over to Dr. Lamin Jandubi on behalf of the PT Siemens Indonesia, the President Director and CEO. This is highly relevant to the technological advancement and development in our country. How would you see Siemens contributing to that particular sector from your point of view? All this time that Siemens have been present in our country, Doctor?
Well, Siemens is present here in Indonesia for quite some time now. It was established in 1847, and only 8 years later we were here in Indonesia.
That's like 2 years young for our country. We just had our independence.
Yeah. So, and yeah, we came here with our first product, the telepointer telegraph. So we are here in Indonesia now 170 years close. So, and basically the business of Siemens, the products changed, the people of course changed over the years, but the business was always the same. It was to make our customers more relevant on the market, more competitive, more resilient and more sustainable. So even with the first telepointer telegraph, it was making it more efficient basically to bring messages from A to B. So the business there, Siemens is still in the same business with 5 companies here in Indonesia. So we have Siemens Energy, which is energy generation. We have Siemens Infrastructure, which is focusing on grids, electrical grids, but then also making cities smarter, buildings smarter. And we have an automation part that is taking care of automating industries with big, large drives, robotics, or even hospitals. So Siemens' idea is to change the life of billions of people to the better with technology. That's the nutshell of Siemens.
Well, being here since 1947, I guess it's safe to say that Siemens helped build the very backbone of our technology in Indonesia.
It's 1847. It was, and we are here.
1847. So that's not 1940. 100 years over before we have our independence.
1855 was the first time.
That was already in the name of Siemens. Dr. Wow. Oh, this is something truly extraordinary. But before we go to another commercial break, I'd like to get your perspective on this, Madam Ambassador, because we talked about the transportations, ports being built, and technologies being implemented coming in from Germany. How do you see the future of German influence technologically and from other products being here in our country and to further expand?
Well, I think it's an interesting coincidence that both representatives have mentioned work that is related to connectivity, because connectivity is another key enabler of modern economies, whether it's ports or whether it's data stations or telegraph. It's all about communication, about being connected and working together and getting together. And since this is still an important priority area of German industry and economy, I think we are very much on the right track with that also in Indonesia.
We cannot be more excited of things to come in terms of cooperations between Indonesia and Germany. There's not enough time to talk about this, but we have to go for another commercial break before we go deeper with your topic, Doctor. And we have to take another short break here on TVRI World. Stay with us right here at Ambassador Press Club. We'll be right back. Thank you for still being with us on today's editions of Ambassador Press Club here on TVRI World, airing live from Jakarta. It's actually taped now, it's not exactly live, but we are extremely delighted to have our esteemed colleagues and guests coming in from the German embassy. And one of the most illuminating part of cooperations with our German counterparts is the technology part, because as you said, Doctor, that it dates back all the way to 1855, the first ever presence of Siemens here in our country. I'd like to dig deeper on that. But before we move on to our conversations, we've put together yet another visual for us to look at on PT Siemens Indonesia. Take a look.
Can we do something about this?
Oh, there's definitely something that can be done about this.
Okay. By when?
Our consensus says by 2030.
Well, let's make it 2030 tonight. Clock's ticking. Let's go. Let's combine the real and the digital worlds to make big changes for everyone.
Can we do something about the music?
How's this?
That's better.
Pretty good. But can we do something about replacing these?
On it. First comes a digital twin of the factory. Then you optimize it, so you can build the real one that produces batteries in record time. Here you go.
I'm happy. What about you?
Well, actually, can we do something to make the city more livable?
Got some ideas.
But can you make them happen?
Well, yeah. How about using data and AI to transform urban life to be smarter and more energy efficient? Even updated your suit.
Whoa, thanks.
What about trains?
Yeah. Again, using a digital twin to help design and build a real hydrogen-powered train.
Can you do my homework for me? Please do not help him with that.
Wait, who are you?
Siemens.
Okay, a jaw-dropping video there from Siemens. I can't wait to talk to Dr. Lamin. Doctor, over 100 years of presence of Siemens here in our country. We've transcended history and you basically revolutionized the way we do things in our country. At this point in time, what would you describe in terms of the core business that Siemens is currently operating in Indonesia?
Siemens is active in many operations here in Indonesia. We are in the energy sector, in the smart infrastructure sector. And the main driver of all this is that Indonesia has a very interesting program active that is pulling value add into the country. So industry is massively growing. Value add in the country is massively growing. And we are very happy that we can contribute on different sectors.
So what are those sectors, if you can shed the light with us?
Well, what we see is that the health system is getting much better. There's a lot of investment in the health sector. We can also see that the energy transition is a huge sector for Indonesia, and they chose to do it in a. You have two ways. You can just drop resources on it to solve energy problems, and they do it in a more sophisticated way. They digitalize at the same time that they invest in hardware. And that's also what we saw in this video, that Siemens is not only active in hardware. Everyone knows, like Siemens turbines or Siemens
physical,
automation, something physical. But we are one of the leading industrial software companies. And I think this is a big strength that we can also use here in the country, that we are combining digital simulation models, digital models with the real world. So we optimize before we implement. And this is something we help our customers with and our strategic partner with. And you already mentioned IKN, the new capital. So we are also one of the strategic partners there and helping to plan in an optimized way.
So how would you describe the current parts of Siemens in building the new capital of Indonesia? Because you mentioned a lot of focus on the digital landscape of Indonesia, and we are also dealing with the invasion of artificial intelligence through all channels. So how do these things balance themselves out from your perspective?
Because everything is getting so dynamic, the planning plays a major role. And so before you had one guy who's planning electricity and the other is planning water and the next one is planning. But if you really want to have it in an efficient way, they need to communicate. Also, what we said before, it's all about the communication. How can we connect all the people that are working on the same topic? And that means you need to build a digital twin of what you're doing, which is basically a digital
twin. So there is a precedent, so that is something that has been set as an example to be implemented in another part. Is that what you're saying?
A digital twin is a representation, a digital representation of the reality. So in that case, that is the model of the city, for example, or the model of the presidential palace. How is the electrical grid in the presidential palace? We just refurbished the presidential palace here. And that was one big topic. So you don't want to have downtime, so you make a simulation of what is happening, and then you implement. So basically, that will bring a lot of efficiency.
Right. So for lack of a better word, probably like if you have a 3D map and something that is interactive, just to see how things flow within the digital twin, as you mentioned, to give us a better overall picture of what we're dealing with and ways to anticipate incoming problems.
It's basically, we say it in a manner, it's like it's Google Maps for traffic. And we do that for industry. So for the material flow within a factory, you want to know where you have a traffic jam, what you can do there, is there a way around. So it's basically, if you want to call it, it's Google Maps for factories.
Google Maps for factories. That is highly needed for factories here in the country. I'd like to get your perspective on this, Madam Ambassador, because as I said at the beginning of our conversation, is that basically here in Indonesia, we see Germany as a mecca of technology, and as a matter of fact, one of our esteemed vice presidents, the late B.J. Habibie, graduated basically in Germany, has imparted his knowledge massively and influenced many generations in our country. So how would you describe at this point in time Germans' influence in Indonesia and ways to elevate it?
Well, I think what Mr. Lamin Janoubi just pointed out epitomizes the meaning of today's knowledge society. That it's not enough to have good hardware and good technology, but the mind has to be there. It has all to be connected and to be moved smartly and efficiently. And I think that's where the German university system comes in, which is also a key linkage point between Germany and Indonesia, because you mentioned the former president. Yeah. But there are even today about 6,000 Indonesian students going for degrees at German universities.
Yes, yes.
And this is also, it has been going on for a long time, that we believe in investing in our people. Mostly German universities are government funded. They are free for the students. They only have to worry about living expenses, which can be a headache. And we have a broad spectrum. We have the top-notch research universities where the future Nobel Prize winners come from, but we also have the applied science universities that take a lot of importance in connecting with the real world, with the needs of industry, and produce exactly the kind of knowledge that is needed to bring technology forward. And I think that's another area of high potential where we can work together.
On the education note, Madam Ambassador, are there opportunities provided by the government of Germany through the German embassy here in Jakarta to attract more potential students to, I mean, you mentioned 6,000 now in Germany, but surely there should be more opportunities open for our students.
Yeah, there are a couple of scholarships, but it's a small percentage of the students that actually go, because
the privilege to
because it's not really necessary. On the one hand, there is no tuition fee, and on the other hand, Germany is very much opening up now for workforces from other countries. So it has become much easier for students to work while they study.
Yeah.
And there is also a perspective for them to join the German labor market once they graduate. So the whole business model of studying in Germany has become a lot more accessible, even for people who don't win scholarships, which only one only becomes eligible once one already has to be A, so for anything below.
I've also heard about the attractive tax system for students abroad who are studying and working at the same time in Germany, but I may be wrong about it, but that was quite an illuminating fact for me myself, just to learn that the opportunity is just immense out there for our students to be in Germany and, as you say, work at the same time, meaning that you not only get all the theories at school and college, but also the expertise from doing the
yes, I mean, there are dual programs that actually integrate the work into the study program. But what I was referring to was that people who study spend a couple of hours, the number of hours is limited for the very tax reasons that you mentioned, that students can work. But it's usually enough so that they can rent an apartment and have their daily needs covered.
And live a comfortable life, at least a lot more comfortable than in Jakarta, if I may say. But it's a good point. Do you want to add something?
I would like to add something. It's, of course, you have the possibility to go to Germany, and we were, I think, all educated in Germany, so the system is really nice. What echoes with me is that the high quality standard also of the German companies and products, no matter if it's financial products, so you can also join one of the companies. The companies will make sure that you get additional proper training. Siemens, for example, is also in our factories, we are training people. We are building up partners. So we educate them there, and we also have strategic partnerships with elite universities here in Indonesia, because also Indonesia has some very elite and some very proper universities here in their own countries.
That's
so
right.
for people who don't want to leave the countries, I think the country offers great opportunities. If you want to leave the country, Germany is maybe one of the best you can go to.
Right, and there's a lot of graduates who can share such successful stories and experiences on their behalf studying in Germany. So, and on that note also, Madam Ambassador, I may say that here in TVRI World, we're also working on the imprints of Deutsche Welle, which is another beacon of broadcast system, at least for the digital broadcast system that we are currently embodying. So that's a very gratifying thing to say. But we're going to have to take another short break. A final segment of our conversation is just around the corner. So stay with us right here on the program of the Ambassador Press Club. We will be right back in just a few minutes. And you're still watching Ambassador Press Club here on TVRI World. We've arrived to the final segment of our conversations. I'd like to go over to the Vice President of Infrastructure of KfW Apex Bank, just to sort of get your final statements to cap off our conversations in the past hour. Mr. Leonard, how would you see 5-10 years now the presence of Apex Bank can truly change the landscape of a banking system in our country?
Sure. I think we see opportunities across all our 4 sectors that we're covering as a bank. I think starting with infrastructure, we touched on a few topics. You mentioned the IKN, which is something I'm personally very curious about how it will unfold. We touched on data centers, for example, but also in our other sectors. I think there are lots of opportunities. So starting with the renewable energy, there's a green energy corridor coming up between Indonesia and Singapore. So that's something we're following. Also on the mobility side, land-based transportation is something that we're watching, but also in the metals and mining space. So President Jokowi has implemented his commodity downstreaming policy. And I think that will could create a very interesting projects for the German automotive or EV battery industry in the years to come. So yeah, looking ahead, hopefully the next president will continue what President Jokowi has started. I think there was a lot of focus on infrastructure, lots of toll roads that he built, ports, airports. So we just hope that this will remain also a focus for the next administration to come.
Right, right. And as a matter of fact, you are actually based in Singapore, which is one of the most important international hubs in the world, trades, for example. And we've been trying to follow suit, for example, in Batam, where we've turned it into special economic zones, hopefully exemplifying of what Singapore has set precedents to. Do you think, in a way, the participation contributions of IPEX Bank in the future could turn special economic zones of Indonesia to follow suit in the steps of Singapore?
Sure, I think especially when you look at, I think one of our data centers, the one we finance, is in an industrial zone. So I think there are bits and pieces where, if it aligns with our mandate, if there's some German-European involvement, then I think we can be a good partner for those projects. Yeah.
Right. From Allianz Indonesia, Mr. Alex, how would you see years from now, the future, the stance of your company, your business here in our country, and in terms of penetrating more markets and inviting more customers into your services?
Yeah, I think our purpose is clear. We secure your future, and we want to build more confidence in tomorrow. So one essential investment we have just undertaken is spinning off our Sharia business and having dedicated
you are also
services.
going into the Sharia banking system?
Yes, we in fact just went live on 1st of November. And with that, we have the ability now to really serve with dedicated products the biggest community in Indonesia. And this is the path we want to continue. So we will invest predominantly, of course, in market access, further distribution. We have so far 14 distribution partners on the banking side, on the partnership side. We have today around 58,000 agents in the country spread all over Indonesia to make sure we can access all communities and really serve appropriately in the communities. The next step is to invest more into technology. We have seen in the video a few apps which help us already to simplify insurance, to simplify the insurance journey, and also the customers to interact with us. I do believe, and we spoke earlier about it, so technology is key to make also insurance more affordable. The more we can apply technology, the more we can automate and make things simple for customers, the cheaper will become products as well over time. Yeah. So I do think that's the way forward and the future investment areas we have.
And I also mentioned a little bit, Mr. Alex, that reflecting from our own experience of trying to get everyone to take part in the national coverage system of BPJS has been quite a challenge. So how do you think you can approach and sort of anticipate these difficulties to be able to disseminate more of the Allianz Indonesia presence and get people more familiarized with your entity?
I think one of the key problems today, insurance is still more a push product than it is a pull product. It depends what type of coverages you have. So some of the products like car insurance is more a commodity product. There might be a
sheer
bit
volumes of cars in our country. That is, that's pull approach.
Because there's a need, but which is evident. And there is an obligation potentially in future with compulsory third-party liability that you have to have insurance for your car. Now, on the life and health side, especially on the health side, there is no compulsory need, but there are costs. So far, the culture is to step in for each other and help each other. That doesn't help us to protect the customers. So we need to look at how can we make it affordable, but also we need to do more on financial literacy, create awareness, but we also need to create a pull factor and spread the knowledge and present ourselves in simple terms that understand the proposition.
From the time of the pandemic alone, we learned a grave lesson that we need these kinds of protections. I'd like to go over to you now, Dr. Lamin Ujandoubi. What is your visionary scope of perspectives and expectations for the Siemens presence, which is already very, very strong in our country?
Just to see Indonesia further grow and be part of it. It's, we talked about what is happening in the mining sector, how industries are basically pulled into Indonesia, which is very good for Indonesia and the society here. And Siemens is and will be active in the most prominent sectors, which is industry, healthcare, infrastructure. and the big energy transition that is coming up.
Right.
So,
and at this point, if we may get a scoop from you, what is the extent of progress of the current project in the new capital?
The project is running.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the timeline is quite tight,
yeah.
but everyone is working.
Is that a realistic timeline, in your opinion, Mr.?
Oh, there are much smarter people than me to know what is, and more involved people who know what is realistic and what is not.
Yeah.
I think the goal is clear,
yeah.
and to be honest, if it's done in half a year, or if it's done in 1 year, or if it's done even in 5 years, I think that's not the question. The relevant question is it the right move to distribute the focus center, Java, to other islands of Indonesia so the whole population can contribute and also participate in the growth?
Yeah.
And I think this question, it's a clear yes and a clear commitment of the government. The timeline is, there will be a lot of discussions about the timeline, but the major question is it the right move to decentralize in Indonesia? And I think it's the right move.
Right. So we're going to have to wait and see how things will unfold, and we can only hope for a decentralization to take place and more balanced growth across the nation. 17,000 islands, if not almost 18,000, so that's a vast archipelago we're talking about. And just to cap off our conversation, I'd like to get the final statements for you, Madam Ambassador. How do you see, from your visionary perspective, the growth of the bilateral relations in all sectors that it pertains, from Indonesia and Germany?
Well, I'm very encouraged by all I have heard, and I feel confident that maybe in 10 years we will see an Indonesia that is very green, where we have more green energy, greener cities with cleaner air, even more digitalization, although in Germany we are quite envious of the young, digital-loving population. And I think we will also have a bigger diaspora of young Indonesians who have some experience in Germany, be it studying, be it training, be it working. And as such, we will have even more potential to work together very fruitfully.
And for me personally, to have a field visit to Deutsche Welles, just to sort of learn what they've been doing so amazingly and try and follow suit. In the meantime, we'd like to also we cannot thank you enough for your rigorous efforts in further fostering relations between Indonesia and Germany. Madam Ambassador, thank you very much for those efforts that you've been doing in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure.
And just to cap off our conversation, I'd like to express my gratitude as well to the country manager of Allianz Indonesia, Mr. Alexander Grins, and also to the Vice President Infrastructure, KfW IPEX Bank, Mr. Leonard Anilaputra Egert, CFA. And at the end of our CSIS conversations is the President Director and CEO of PT Siemens Indonesia, Dr. Lamin Jandubi. Thank you very much. Dankeschön. Thank you, everyone. And that concludes our conversations here at the Ambassador Press Club here on TVRI World, giving us a glimpse of bright future indeed ahead for the relations between Indonesia and Germany. I'm Rahmat Idris. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.